Another day, another Cherry Film Conversation. My name is Makoto Phumodi and I am your host for the Cherry Film Festival 2020. So today, I sat down with Zolani Phakade and Sandile Mdluli. Both are directors on our favorite telenovela, The River. Find out what they had to say about life in the TV and film spaces. So welcome to Cherry Film Festival. So this festival is based in the Free State, a small town called Vicksburg. So that's a very Sesotho-based community.
Me, I like Basotho.
Oh.
Me, I can hear Sesotho.
Oh, you can hear.
I
I know Zulu people are always like that. You don't want to learn other people's languages, but you want us to always learn your language. Fair enough. So since obviously I've done some research and people from home don't know who you guys are. So briefly, who are you guys? Zolani, I'll start with you.
Why don't you start with that other guy?
I want to start with you.
Let's start with the pretty one. Let's start with Zoe. Let's go.
Wow. Okay, so my name is Zolani Phakade. I come from Zululand and the beginning of the Eastern Cape, Mpondo land.
Okay.
And I'm the series director of The River at the moment.
Okay.
And other few stuff that I've directed in my career.
We'll talk about as we proceed. Yeah. So Sandile wena.
Zoe, you're missing. That's one sentence.
I cannot ask more as we continue. I'm still gonna take it. Don't worry.
I'm Sandile Mdluli. Born in Mpumalanga, Ermelo. Moved to Joburg to seek greener pastures.
Okay.
Studied in the film industry years ago. Trained by one of them is this one here as an AD.
Oh, yeah.
First. So many years ago, yeah.
Okay.
And then I moved to directing.
Oh, okay. So a lot of let me not say a lot. Most people, they just think of a director and they just see cut and action. What is the director's role on set?
Sure, let's go, sir. Or must I?
You can, Sandile.
I think the basis of it is to transform what's written on paper into visuals, into what you see on TV. That's just the basis of it. There's more in detail, but I mean, if someone is looking for a job or goes to offices and be like, yo, I want to be a director, that's the first thing that they would ask you. Would you translate something that's written in text format into visuals? So would you let your imagination basically run crazy as far as it can go in terms of creating this character and sustaining the characters and also bringing it back to life in terms of performance, actors' performance, and also in terms of camera work, which is the visuals, the lens sizes, and art department. There's a lot of things that are involved when it comes to being a director.
Oh, okay. And Zolani, who comes up with characters on set? Is it the casting director, or is it the director, or is it the producers? Like, who comes up with the characters?
So it differs on what we used to now, local television and television everywhere in the world. The executive producers would come up with that. That's if the executive producers, like ours on The River, who are also head writers. But if they don't have the experience, the head writer would introduce characters that the executives have asked for. And once they've done that, they take it to the channel to approve it.
Yeah.
If it's big characters, but if it's small characters, they just allow the casting department to find them, present it to them, and if they like them, then we continue.
Yeah, so speaking of old uh, talent and new talent, as a director, how hard is it to direct new talent and old talent on set?
For me, it has always been easier because I do not run away from telling the truth,
Okay.
and also making you as an actor comfortable on set, because we're playing. When we're creating this, we are playing on a very expensive playground.
Yeah.
So 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 there's got to be some kind of seriousness within what you do,
Yeah.
and able to tell the story in a believable way. And truth of the matter is, if it doesn't work, we recast.
Oh, okay. So would you say moving from an actor to a director was some sort of like helpful? So you being a director, let me rephrase my question. So you starting off as an actor, yeah, and moving to a director. Tell me about that transition.
This is the funniest thing because I've always been behind the scenes my whole career. I started as a PA and worked my way in assistant directing until I started directing.
Yeah.
Then one day I was short of an actor, and I jumped in.
Oh yeah?
And then the channel was so chuffed that I was allowed, to do a couple of scenes,
Okay.
which turned out to be fun.
Take
And
two.
other stuff, and other stuff that I've worked on, um, being an AD, being his father, I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
this small
And
role.
yeah, we're fine. Sandile, when I'm researching you, I hardly ever find anything on the net. Why are you hiding? Why are you hiding your work?
Ah, I mean, it's a personal thing. I studied drama. I studied acting. Um, I studied performance. I studied theater, and moving on from there, on most of my friends are on TV. They're actors and stuff like that. It's a personal thing. It's like me. I don't like being on TV.
Okay.
I like to play with my imagination and creating characters and putting them in situations. Maybe situations that I would be in personally, but not me. I try as much as I can to avoid being in front of the camera. It's me. I don't know. I don't know how to deal with the public.
Yeah. And then like I want to know, why does The River have so many directors? Because now I thought a show is only supposed to have one director. Why am I talking to two directors from The River? Like,
Hey, we're
don't you
missing.
guys
Eh? Two more is missing.
why are there so many directors? Explain to the people who don't know why.
Or should I?
Yes, yes, you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, go ahead.
So I think for a show to be in a certain position, it needs to be balanced. It needs to have different forms of creativity coming in, whether from the director's side or crew in terms of the art department, or in terms of, but the creative part of it, I think it needs to be balanced. Like our show, I think our show is balanced. I mean, you look at the four directors that we have. Um, you've got me, you've got Zolani, you've got Ferichele, and you've got N Mashirwan. All of our directing styles are different, and we focus mainly on different details of directing. It's not the same. I mean, even when you watch our episodes, the show is still the show that everyone subscribed and wanted, but somehow in terms of the weeks and stuff, it's not the same. It's because of what we all bring individually within our blogs. So meaning when I say our blogs, I mean within our 6 episodes which plays for a week. It's what we bring in individually, which is different. Zolani's got like bigger skill in terms of technical and also in terms of performance as well. And then you have Ferichel, who's strong, who's a performance coach. you know, who also, when you've got like new characters coming in, you know, she's there to guide them in terms of building the character and stuff like that. And you've got Anne as well, who's really dope when it comes to her treatments, writing down the planning part of her shoot, you know, until the final detail, the execution part of it, you know. And then you've got me, who've got my own way of working. We don't work the same way, all of us. But somehow, when you watch the episodes for the whole month, it's one story that's flowing, but it's flowing and you've got different variations of directing and performance.
Yeah. And speaking of different styles of directing, Zolani, what would you say is your style of directing?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, if a director in general, when you take a script, you've got to bring it to life. My because I was underprivileged to have a chance to study film. When I was training, I spent my days watching as much of films as I could, and I got lost. I'll get lost in it. I'll even forget that I'm watching a movie.
Oh,
I'll
yeah?
even forget that this is what I do also for a living.
Yeah.
So my style is highly entrenched on a performer that is able to give us the performance that makes you as a viewer to feel like it's real.
Yeah.
And secondly, it's my the way I frame you've got to feel as if you're in the real world.
Yeah.
Your eyes and your ears and everything else needs to make you feel that you're there.
Yeah.
And if you say, "Ish, performance, yeah, look, put this is not working,"
Mhm.
ish, then snaking.
Then no to bale matata. Yeah.
Yeah, then,
You know, we're always reading about other shows and other actors complaining about their shows. You know, tablets are always talking about other actors on other shows, talking about how they're being mistreated on set. But I've realized, man, The River doesn't have that type of drama or that kind of drama. How do you guys manage to keep your cast and crew so together, drama free?
first we've got to give it to our executive producers. They chose people that are dedicated to the craft, actors wise,
Sure.
and our production team. It's extremely people that are dedicated, and the selection of people that are on the river, it is purely on talent. And truth needs to be spoken. You know, there's a huge amount of people that get a chance to be on TV when either they're not talented or they're not dedicated.
Yeah.
The difference with us is we are there just for one cause, and the executive producers did a very good job of making sure that they handpick the people that they want to work with, and those people are dedicated to the cause. I mean, the second we have a problem, it is dealt with within few hours, so that we can able to keep the same kind of flow.
Can I add to what Zolani just answered now? I just
Yes,
want to add one more thing.
definitely.
As well, what keeps the drama away is giving people chances and opportunities. I think I've worked in so many stories, but this is my first time in the industry where I get to a telenovela, and you have conversations with the writing team about giving each and every actor in a show time to shine.
Yeah.
Basically, if you look at the river, most of the characters, they've had their own storylines.
Yeah.
It's not only about with Digana or Cobra on the other side of the world,
Yeah.
but they go an extra mile in terms of you are here because you can act, you are here because you have a talent. So
Yeah.
let's write you a storyline as well so that you also shine. That
Yeah.
also kills the drama.
So, gentlemen, I want to know, how did you guys get into the river? Did you apply? Did you get a call? Yeah.
In terms of being in the show,
Yeah.
oh.
Both of you are smiling there. You have a good story to tell.
It's so weird. It's so weird. So what happened for me to be in the show? I was doing another show. Um, I've worked with one of the first guys who directed Johnny Babazano. Johnny is really, really amazing, Mr. Babazano. I give props to him. I worked with him as an AD, I think it was when, 4 or 5 years ago,
Okay.
as his first assistant. And he said to me, Sandile, why don't you direct? I was like, I'm not ready. I'm waiting for the right time. He's like, okay, sharp. Go and do your own things and then tell me when you want to come through and work.
Yeah.
Years later, I'm doing a show. I'm with another production house. He gives me a call. He's like, listen, there's a production house called Cheddar Pictures.
Yeah.
They are doing a show. I'm not forcing you to come along. If you're interested in starting something amazing and something, out of this world, tell me.
Yeah.
Tell me, because I've worked with people before. I know the amount of work you put in.
Yeah.
Basically, I had to think about it. And then something inside of me said, take the job, And then, I called him. I was like, yo,
I'm ready.
let's try this new show. Then no one knew nothing about the show. The characters were not this strong and heavy. It was just paper. It was just the scripts. He sent me the scripts to read. So I had to read the scripts and, the story Bible. And then I was like, I love the story. So I'm going to come through.
Oh, okay. Nice. Yo, nice. Sounds like you had a destiny helper.
That's a good one. Destiny helper.
Yeah. And when is Zolani?
Johnny Babazano has been a part of me too.
Okay.
Because I was an assistant director, so we did a couple of stuff together. Yeah. So yeah, Johnny has been part of my career. Well, he joined and became part of my career. And I was an AD, assisting him a couple of times. And yeah, he became part of the people when I had the conversation with Patu about coming to join them to tell the story, because we didn't know of Cheddar Pictures, but I knew of Patu and Gwed.
Okay.
And I really loved how they tell stories, and I wanted to just join them and tell the stories with them. And I came in when Johnny also was making a decision of coming in. So one was going to be within right hands in terms of working, because I was still a juniorish director then, because and yeah, the call from Patu changed it all.
What was happening in your life then when you got a call from Patu?
A lot. I was at the point where I was actually thinking I'm going to go back home and relook at things, because I had no job. Actually, I was sitting at the mall, Rosebank, and I had just done last job, and I didn't know where was I going to get the next job.
Yeah.
So I was sitting at the mall and just watching the sun going down, and I did not even see people. And I had just paid off my car, and a friend of mine who I had asked to come and help me shoot a music video crashed my car that I just paid off. So I didn't
remember the story.
I didn't have I didn't have a car. I didn't know how I was gonna pay my rent. I didn't know how was I gonna send money back at home. But because I've always been a fighter, I was like, you know what? If I have to go back a few steps, be an assistant director, be a second assistant director, whatever, man, just to survive. Or I was ready to go back home to start all over again. You know? And like I'm saying, I kept on seeing this number that I didn't know that just kept on calling. And I was actually rejecting the number.
Really?
and it happened. You know when you're sitting down and you don't hear the noises that are happening, it's
Oh,
just like
your hope is gone, type of vibe.
it's gone. It just sounds muffled. And I was sitting there. I had to order an Uber, but I just didn't even have the courage
To
to go
request.
to an app and order a car that's going to take to my place because again, if I come here, it's just going to be
Another.
more stress and thoughts of
Yeah.
how am I going to continue with life.
Yeah.
And when I answered the call after I hung up, like the sounds came back again, like
Wow.
music was playing around,
Wow.
and there was hope, and we're here.
Who is Mr. Dennis Leroux and how has he contributed to your growth as a director? Yes, I like that look. He literally dropped his
Yeah,
jaw.
well, FBI.
I told
FBI.
you, I do my research.
FBI.
I do my research. Who is Mr. Dennis Leroux Zolani? And how did he contribute to your growth?
Dennis Leroux is my high school principal. So I went to this township school that had that was sponsored by RPM, which is a huge company, titanium sand company back at home in Richards Bay. And the school I went to had a couple of white teachers and blah blah blah. And I came into the school as I was just a very very naughty child. I just had ADD. I couldn't sit for 45 minutes in the class but because I just thought all this shit is rubbish. Um, and and this man loved me because I loved rugby, and I was in his office every time I got kicked out in the class. I'd go bother him about fixing our rugby ground and also making sure he coaches us.
Yeah.
And he could see that I'm a troublesome child. So he used to sit with me a lot and ask me questions that I never asked about myself, and
Yeah.
understand who am I and just to
Questions
be
such as
courageous.
what?
Um, okay, my I was bringing myself up because I was not staying with my family because my mom was married to some guy and the guy didn't like me and kicked me out of his house. And so I had to work, for making ends meet. So I was working in the cinema as a cleaner. So my sense of focus was just everywhere. And
Imagine.
and when I was growing up, everybody used to tell me how dark I am, actually how black I am, and how ugly I looked, like all those things. And
Horrible.
sometimes you don't realize that they
Yes.
they hurt you.
Traumatic.
Um, so I think that's why I turned more to violence because, yeah, I used to,
Yeah, I guess because you had to always have that defense mechanism all the time.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And when I went to that school, I just fell in love with the English medium. I fell in love with Macbeth and all those things. So sometimes I just try and speak like them when I can't
I can,
speak.
I can hear there's a bit of, there's a bit of Shakespeare in there.
Yeah, and now they're in the township, this ugly duck guy trying to speak English, and that was a problem. So many kids, and when they tell me, I used to murder them. So he,
I can
he
imagine.
helped. He helped because there was no order within myself, and when I said I want to tell stories,
Yeah.
and he's the first person that said, you know what? You'd actually do very well. Go for it.
Yeah, no, that's
And for one human being, just one human being to believe in me, it was all I needed.
nice.
And I was lucky I had him and I had Mr. Ngale, who was the first person that really believed in me.
Yeah.
And and I just took the journey and I never looked back. And I knew from the first day when I decided this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put my everything into it
Yeah. No.
and make it
So,
work. So that's Mr. Dennis LaRue.
Sandile, so you guys worked together before. So, what is the importance of collaboration in this industry?
I think the biggest thing would be learning, which people are scared of, the importance of collaborating. Because you get to learn and share skills, skills development. I mean, my biggest role would be for my brothers as well, from Zolani and Wandile. One thing that I taught me as well is always being open-minded in terms of what you do work-wise, because your collaboration means you must have an input as well, in every aspect of what you guys are trying to achieve as individuals.
Yeah.
Comes in with his own concept, I comes in with my own idea, or share skills. It might not be ideas, it might be skills. One of the biggest skills that I got was how to deal with people, how to work with a person's personality rather than an individual. I think that's one thing that they taught me, between Wandile and Zolani.
Yeah.
Because my foundation as an AD is one thing that I'm grateful of the most, because it has taught me to be appreciative to this position that I have. That's where the biggest skills or collaboration happened in my life.
Yeah.
It's when I went in to be second AD for Zolani, and then I went into first AD for Zolani, and then we ended up, being on the same team directing, same, you know. But the skills transfer or the skills development part of it didn't start now. It took years. The collaboration part of it took years to nurture in me, so that I appreciate what I have even more.
So
Yeah, just to add on that, one of the most important thing with collaboration is you need to know that the product is not yours alone, first and foremost. And what the episode when it shows on TV, no one says, "Oh, this person did this and this and that." They say the crew of the river or the crew of whatever show that happens.
Yeah.
So collaboration is extremely important because you've got to listen to each and every individual who come with what they know best.
Yeah.
And that helps to come up with the final product that looks amazing or looks terrible.
Yeah, some do look terrible.
Oh, okay. So, like in your view, I know. I'm gonna ask more questions. I'm coming. I didn't let that one slide. I heard it. So, okay, since some are more terrible, what makes The River different from other shows?
Mm. I first and foremost, Patu and Gideon kind of writing style is they call it camp writing. The story moves. It doesn't sit in one place. It doesn't dwell. So the episode have to move. Secondly, they cast people that are dedicated to the story. They cast people that are dedicated to the art so that they take the writing of what they've written and make it best. And what writing is that? It's the typical South African stories that we face on our daily basis.
Yeah.
And if it's not something that we face on our daily basis, the plots are always just so beautiful. It's just you never know what you're gonna get next, and again, what you're gonna get next, what you're gonna get next, the whole time. It is always just a plot thickened kind of storytelling.
And I've
Um,
oh, sorry. You can finish. Sorry.
which I think makes it amazing. And when it comes to crew, they almost handpicked their HODs, and they were never afraid to say what kind of TV they want to produce. And they've put pressure on that every single day. They didn't shy away from saying what they want, and if they were not getting it, they said it's not what they want. And they also showed by spending the budget on it, on making sure that the budget is able to do the job that it needs to do.
Yeah. And I've realized there's a pattern on South African telenovelas. You look at Gomorrah, there's a contrast between the rich and the poor. There's Santon and Alexandra. You look at the river, there's Refilwe and Pretoria, Abodikana and the people Kokasi. Why is that? Why is most telenovela always kind of seem like they have that contrast between the rich and the poor when there's so many other stories that could be told?
Sandile, do you want to answer first? Then I have my answer.
Yeah, I don't. Oh, did you mute your video?
Ish, yo guys, I'm back. I'm alive.
Okay.
I think look at that's quite an interesting question. In fact, I've seen it. I've acknowledged it. In fact, in terms of what stories really deal with, but the truth of the matter is, what we see in TV is the representation of life.
Yeah.
It's not life itself, but the representation of it.
Yeah.
Obviously, with added features and exaggerations here and there.
Yeah.
What do we all have that we relate to, or from where we come from, where we're going?
Yeah.
Is the fact that we've started nowhere. We are working ourselves towards being somewhere, something. So I think the world of telenovelas shows us when someone is already there and the people who are down there trying to get to that. Because it's either that, the conflict of the rich or the poor, or religion.
Yeah.
You know. But for me, it's what we relate to more as individuals or as human beings per se, in terms of what we are and what we want to be.
Yeah.
You've got the lower class, middle class, the upper class. So basically, it's what human behavior is more interested in. I don't know. So,
adding to what Sandile just said, if you go to the politics and of it all, and the mechanics of it all, the DSTV portal is an entertainment channel.
Yeah.
And they've got to make money.
Yeah.
Whatever they put in there, it's going to generate money. So what happens is they found a pattern that works for them. And the pattern was this kind of storytelling. And they want melodrama, families, issues kind of story. And that's what you're getting on TV, Monday to Friday, 6 to 9 or 10:30. It is what they preferred, and they saw it as a working formula for them. And you get told very straight when you go in there that your story has to be around melodrama, and they basically sticking to what works for them, and you can't blame them, because that's what creates the revenue for them. And that's just literally the political of it all.
Yeah.
There are a lot of stories to tell in South Africa. The question is, who's willing to give people money to tell them?
Speaking of people who are willing to give people money to tell their stories, for someone who's from a small town and they want to direct, they have an amazing story to tell, would you say they need to go for training to become an actor? Or not an actor, a director? Or is directing something that you can just do?
It depends how professional you want to take it.
Okay.
Anybody can take a phone and shoot people talking.
Okay.
The most important thing anyway you can ever go to is the story. It doesn't matter how it's shot, but if you can hear what they're saying
Yeah.
and you can follow on the story,
Yeah.
then that is your film. That's your telenovela. That's whatever that you're calling
Yeah.
it. So it is quite important that if you are in a space where you cannot be in the city or do not have formal education, to train yourself on these things. So I've always known that I wanted to direct, and then no one was going to give me a chance. But when the chance had to come, I had to be ready.
Yeah.
So I did lots and lots of videography.
Okay.
So I was shooting events like crazy. I'd shoot at night, come nap for 3 hours, go to set the following day, on weekends.
Yeah.
For me, that was extremely important to do that, to train myself when the chance comes,
Yeah.
so that I'm able to go to any set that I'm placed at and
Yeah.
able to create television that works.
Mm.
So you actually have to use everything that you have in your disposal to train yourself, because if the chance comes, it doesn't matter where you are.
Yeah.
When the chance comes, it'll come once, so you better be ready.
And I know people go through different journeys in life. What are some of the challenges for someone who wants to become a director one day, like myself? I'm currently an actress, but I know as time goes by, I'm going to go behind the scenes because I have a degree in filmmaking. So for someone like myself or people who are like me, who want to become a director one day, what are the challenges that you guys come across as directors?
So for me, the biggest challenge is to be able to translate what I have envisioned as a story to the actors, to the crew, to everybody.
Yeah.
Like the other day, I usually try and get feedback from everyone that's willing to give me feedback. So the other day I was out and I bumped into this other actor and I was like, yo, bro, tell me, what do you think of my directing? What is it that you like and what is it that you don't like?
Yeah.
And he was like, hey, sometimes I just don't hear what you're saying, because you get too excited and then you speak and then you don't finish your sentence and I'm trying to listen to what you're saying. And I'm just like, yo, it's in out. So it was one thing that I had to learn. I had to be very specific in terms of how do I speak? Um, is it clear enough? Does it make sense enough? In not so many words, um, so that they can grasp it and take it and make it theirs.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't one of the biggest thing, and the other biggest thing is working with veteran actors,
Yeah.
and who've been in industry way before you, and they ask you valid questions, and you've got to be able to answer them.
Yeah. So how
Because if
is
you
it
cannot,
like working with someone like Presley, someone with an Oscar, someone who has won an Oscar before? How how
yeah.
how how, how is that? Because a lot of people who don't know much about translating your script in your own words, they probably think, oh, that script it's like in what's with the way I deliver it.
Mm.
Like I think. So how do you work with someone like that? That
I'm gonna speak for myself. I basically workshop every scene, and I would say to the actor, "This is what we're trying to achieve with the scene. This scene allows comedy. This scene does not allow comedy. Um, Basically, the story is going this way. So this scene is key, or it's a bridge to this and this and that. And if you can just give me this and this, then the story will be told."
yeah,
And the beauty about working with the actors of our show, they're so dedicated to the story. So once you've had a chat about that, then what they bring on script, I mean on screen, is literally the conversation that they've had between the director and their understanding of the story, because it's very important to make sure that you collaborate.
In your own view, what is the current state of South African television at the moment, and what can be done to improve?
In all honesty, I think we have a huge problem in this country. I feel a lot of people are so lazy in terms of there's a lot of lazy acting, and it is such a big problem for people who do not dissect the story they're telling, or digging deep into their characters and understanding what kind of characters are they playing and what they're trying to achieve. Then someone that walks to set and do the dialogue and exit. Therefore, you have just a mid performance. Someone who doesn't know how to cry within a scene. Someone who does not understand the cameras and the movement and so on. It is a huge problem.
Yeah.
The way casting happens now does not allow people that have that knowledge to be given a chance. Therefore, it just dampens down a whole lot of stuff in the industry.
Yeah.
And no one wants to speak those facts.
Yeah. So
they're always brushed, and it's just almost like, So when you see very brilliant performing actors, it becomes the biggest thing, but it is meant to be a norm. We need to be in a world where it's normal to have really, really amazing actors, really amazing performers. And we seem to have that problem of people that have gone so comfortable. And you know, it dampens down what we're trying to do, the culture of storytelling. So I feel like we are in a crisis because of that. And it's just going to keep on getting worse if there isn't some type of representation or ways or laws on how to get people on screen.
Yeah.
Get criteria of some sort. We're just going to continue creating television that's okay.
So basically, I just want to know about the lessons that shaped you in becoming the person that you are today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Directing is one of the most humbling job that I've ever been given. In so many ways. I, as a person, I grew up with extreme low self-esteem, and I had to find a way of working on that. I think I was a very terrible communicator, and I had to work on that. I had to learn to trust my gut from the word go. Usually things take slow for me to process, and then they can make sense. But when they finally make sense, they're really amazing. So I learned that being in this position, it's almost being like a father that needs to be able to teach the children the best ways, and also to be very, very good at listening. And when you get the information, you've got to use it exactly the way it is meant to. So I've learned to listen more. I've learned to trust my gut more. I've learned that each and every single day will never be the same. And the process that I'm in, I could not get it right the whole time. But whatever I do, when I really believe in it, then it gives me a room to be able to see the mistakes that I've done. I've learned to allow myself to be extremely humble, because that's able to help me to create the work that I've ever created, and to widen the visionary world for myself.
Yeah.
And it's baby steps. It takes a long time, and you've got to be able to dedicate yourself towards it, and it becomes such a beautiful journey.
Nice. So this is literally my last.
Yeah,
Advice. Let's say,
yeah,
or someone from the Free State who.
yeah,
Okay, let me not say someone from the Free State. Let me say an artist who is in that state that you were in when you were in Rosebank Mall. Someone who's
yeah,
about to give up. What
yeah.
advice would you give them?
Every single day is a new day to start all over again. Because what happens in life, this I learned from a guy called Seth Guru. Um, Life is a mixture of your history, experiences, plus your expectations. And if you put those together, they give you your character of who you are as a person. And sometimes you can be a good director of your own drama, but it could be a terrible one. So you've got to be able to separate between your past experiences and your expectations, because you never know what's going to happen the following day. You've got to be able to allow each and every day to start as the sun starts. You've got to step outside and see the sun as it rises and take that in. And start okay, because the sun has never been tired.
Never ever.
Sun has never said, I'm not coming out. The wind has never stopped blowing. It keeps on coming over and over again.
Wow.
And if you are able to do that, one day you're going to be the sun and the moon that shines so bright for everybody to see it.
Wow. Wow. What a way to wrap this up. Zolani, thank you so much. Hle. Like, thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. Hopefully next year you will come to the actual festival in Vicksburg. So because of COVID, obviously we had to resort to the Zoom conference, but I've learned so much from you and Sandile, and I love your work. I follow you on Twitter, and I just want to say to you, stay amazing, stay telling amazing stories. I love your work, and please have a beautiful night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.